If you've seen some of my other videos, you will recognize this bike. This is my 2017 Giant Anthem 2 GE, and I want to tell you guys more about it. All my previous bikes have been 29er hardtails. So when doing research on an upgrade, I was looking for a dual suspension bike that would be accommodating on those gnarly black diamond trails, as well as be forgiving enough on the long distance cross-country stuff like a 100-kilometer Karoo coast that I do every year. So I was looking for that perfect hybrid between a trail cross-country bike, a nice playful trail bike that still has cross-country characteristics, because I only have one bike and this is my do-it-all bike. So I was looking for something that I can use on the trails, have fun on the trails, because that's 99% of my riding. When I do go and do the cross-country stuff, when I do go and do a 100-kilometer race, I don't want something with a longer head angle, something with long travel that's just going to be detrimental to me. So I've decided to go with this Giant Anthem 2 GE. Now this bike comes out with 27.5-inch wheels, so you'd think coming from a 29er to a 27.5-inch wheels would be a downgrade, but it's not. The playfulness and the maneuverability that I get in this bike is far more worth to me than having less rolling resistance and having more momentum and pedal efficiency and all of that. So I really like the 27.5-inch wheels. I really enjoy it, so I'm happy with that choice. Tire wise, the bike originally came out with Schwalbe knobbly nicks in front. I've changed them out for this Onza Ibex 2.4-inch with more aggressive thread pattern. More aggressive thread pattern really helps on those downhills to get more grip and give you confidence in leaning into the stern, so you don't have to worry about washing out. On the rear wheel, I went with Maxxis Icon. It's a faster rolling thread pattern, less resistance. It's actually also a 2.35-inch instead of a 2.4-inch that I have in front. So the thinner wheel helps with less rolling resistance when we're doing the long stuff. So it's actually quite a cool tire combo. I enjoyed it a lot and really glad I went with it. Suspension wise, it's got the Fox 34 Rhythm fork with 120 mils of travel. What I really like about this fork is the damping adjustment. It's a variable adjustment. Instead of having fixed settings for open, medium and closed, you can really dial it in. Now on the rear suspension, you've got the Fox Float Performance shock. It's got 42.5mm stroke, and the rear suspension has got a travel of 110mm. On the shock itself, you've got the three settings. You've got the open, the mid and the lockout. For me, I ride most of the time I ride on the medium or trail setting. Even on climbs, that's perfect. And what I really like about this bike is this Maestro floating pivot. It really is a very good suspension linkage. I weigh 109 kilograms. Gravity works against me all the time, and I don't feel any pedal bop with this. It feels as if I'm pedaling a hardtail. Pedal efficiency is really awesome, and that's one of the reasons that I chose this bike, is to have the ability to still climb well. I have the ability to be efficient on those long rides. So the suspension, I think, is a marvelous piece of engineering. The frame is a large. I'm sort of in the lower end of an XL, but I decided to go with a large, and I'm actually very glad I did. The maneuverability, extra maneuverability that I get is fantastic. I can move my weight around the bike a lot easier, it handles a lot better, and it allowed me to get 150mm dropper post instead of 120, which the bike came out with. If you are between sizes, if you're between an extra large and a large, if you're between a large and a medium, I would recommend going with a smaller size. For the reach and stuff, you can play with a longer stem, as what I did. The bike comes out with a 80mm stem. I went for a 90mm stem, and that really helps. I still feel the stem is a little bit long, but there's pros and cons to it. The big pro for me is I can really get my weight onto the front of the wheel for those very steep climbs, but I will still play around with different stem lengths, so maybe a video for another time. I really like my cockpit. It's nice and clean. Shifters, I only have one. Really happy about going one by. I've removed the dial from this SLX shifter. Cables are neat and tidy. If you use electrical tape. If I'm going to change brake hoses and gear hoses, I'll put on some shrink wrap, but for now I'm happy with that. The only thing that I would change on this bike is maybe get a different dropper remote. It's not bad, but I think I'll get a lot more benefit in having a remote that sits under the bar, more like a shifter. Brake wise, it's got Shimano M615 brakes, 180mm rotors front and back. Originally it comes out with 160mm rotor in the back, 180 in front. I've swapped the back one out, so I've got 180 in the back as well. On the drivetrain side, and this is where I really get excited, this bike comes out with a Shimano SLX 2x11 with a 11 to 42 cassette and a 26 to 36 tooth chain rings in front. Now when looking for a trail bike, I was in two minds. I did want a one by, but I was also scared that I'm not going to have the range that the 2x gave me. So I was introduced to this E13 TRS 11-speed cassette, and I was absolutely blown away. This thing is phenomenal. It's got a 511% ratio, whereas the SRAM 1x11 is only a 500%. So when working out the gear ratios on this setup of mine now, on the low end and the high end is almost exactly the same as what I had on my previous bike, and that was a 2x. So this is actually phenomenal. It allows me to have a 1x with exactly what I wanted in a 2x. It's a perfect combination. And what I also ended up doing was going from clipless to flat pedals. Coming from a cross-country hardtail bike, I realized that I'm lacking in skills on the trail. Can't bunny hop, can't manual, and that's really stuff that you need, especially if you're going to do more technical downhill stuff. So I decided to go with flats. I wanted to improve my skills, and the confidence just wouldn't be there if you clipped in. I still have my clips though. I'll put them on if we're doing the longer stuff, if I'm going to do Karoo to Coast, if I'm going to do a Darling Brew race, or any other 50, 60k or whatever going on the road, then I'll put my clips back on. But flat pedals just gives you more confidence on the trail. It is less efficient on the climb, I'm not gonna lie. I miss my clips when we do climbing, but the benefit that I get out of the confidence that you have on the downhill, knowing that you can put your foot out whenever you want, saving yourself on that balance that you're losing, it just adds another dimension to the downhill. So with this bike, I've got the DMR V8 flat pedals. It really is a fantastic pedal. It's got grub screws for grip, and the thread on the grub screw really helped to dig into those soles. I don't have 510s yet. I'm looking at buying in the near future. This stage I'm running my Merrills that's got Vibram soles, and even with the Vibram soles it just grips in. So I'm really very happy about the pedal combo. Thanks very much for taking the time to check out my bike. Enjoy your next ride, have fun, and stay safe.